I lived abroad for 6 months in Eastern Europe, and I discovered four things that I would have never have known if I were to stay back at home in North America. So the fourth one actually completely changed how I see myself and my relationships. So stick around for that. So the first discovery that I found about myself was that I was actually a lot more extroverted than I thought. Back home in Canada or even in USA, I would avoid a lot of small talk with strangers. And when I traveled to South America, I was able to really just get out of my comfort zone and approach a lot of people because it felt like the culture was just a lot more warmer. It was a lot more easier to approach people because the culture is a little bit more open to, I guess, strangers and getting to know people who you don't know. And I found that in Vancouver, Canada, that people are very closed off here. And this is where I've been my whole life. But here's the thing, when you're actually navigating in a foreign country, for example, if you're in South America or you're in Eastern Europe, you have to talk to people. You have to, ask people for directions. You have to ask people for food, get to know people because you're new in the country. You want to be able to build a brand and you want to be able to kind of take over the city. And to do that, you can't be in your shell. You have to go out, build connections, network with people. And if you can't get out of your comfort zone, and start conversations with people, it's just not going to happen. So within weeks, I was having 1 hour to 2 hour conversations with people in Spanish in Colombia. I was able to pick up the language because the more I went out to talk to people, the more I wanted to actually learn Spanish. So that is one of the hacks is to learn a new language, you want to move to the country that you're trying to learn the language of. For example, I did Colombia and I wanted to learn it quicker. And I had no choice because if I couldn't learn it, I wouldn't be able to survive essentially. I didn't live in the areas where all the tourists live. I actually lived about an hour outside of Medellin, but I felt like I was able to pick up Spanish very quickly because I put myself in an environment where I was forced to speak the language. If you are trying to learn a new language, move to the country that you're trying to learn the language of. Here's another thing that I realized too being abroad is that confidence is something you're not born with. You have to craft it. You have to build confidence in yourself. And the way to do that is to slowly do things that you promise yourself with. So for example, if I wake up in the morning and I say I'm going to the gym that day, I have to go to the gym because if I don't, I'm breaking the promise to myself and therefore I'm not going to feel as confident. So building confidence is something you build through action. So number two is problem solving. The second discovery was that I could solve problems I never thought was solvable. I literally missed trains, I didn't understand languages, and I was getting lost sometimes in completely unfamiliar cities. And at home, so most people would quite literally panic if the internet went down for 1 hour. When I was abroad, I was able to navigate entire countries. In fact, countries that were in war. For example, I was in Ukraine, and I feel like that if anybody has a hard life, a life where it's not going to be the end of the world if you lose power. Living in Ukraine was completely eye-opening for me because I was able to really see a certain side of life that, quite frankly, nobody gets to experience. And it's something that I don't think a lot of Westerners are maybe ever going to experience in their life. Hopefully not, because it is not something good. But I was able to experience that, and it was once in a lifetime opportunity I felt. So that is one thing that I learned is people in Ukraine, you think you have it hard in life if you don't have Wi-Fi, you don't have good food. They really have it hard in life. So just always be thankful and grateful for what you have. Here's the thing is that your brain actually adapts to whatever happens in life. So you're never going to be in a bad position. So number three is relationship clarity. I learned what I actually wanted in relationships being abroad. The weird thing is when you're out of your own country, your culture, you can't really rely on shared history or convenience. It is a very different experience when you're dating abroad and having relationships with other cultures. I actually had way deeper conversations that I did abroad than I did if I were to stay at home. The distance being abroad actually made me realize which relationships I wanted to keep and which relationships I wanted to get rid of. And this insight is what completely changed how I see dating and even my own friendships in general. Fourth discovery, and this is the big one, and this is what I actually want to do in life. I found my actual direction in life. I feel like a lot of people at home, they're just following a script. They want to pay bills, they want to go to the gym, eat, sleep, repeat, and they just do that over and over again. And when I was abroad, and if you go abroad too, you're going to be able to realize, what do you actually want? You have some space and you feel like your mind has a lot of room to grow, and you have new experiences, new perspectives in life, and isn't going to keep you stuck. I actually started journaling and reading books that I was completely putting off for a long time. And I was also having real conversations about purpose. And I truly felt like I was, living a life instead of just going through it. It's the best feeling ever. So a lot of the noise back at home, it feels like it's drowning you sometimes. And when you leave, you have a nice breath of fresh air. And here's the thing, for a lot of you out there, I'm sure that the noise back at home, it's drowning your own thoughts. So when you leave and you experience a new territory, you are free to think a little bit differently and your perspective changes. So here's the thing, you don't need to move abroad to experience, all of these changes that I experienced. But here's what you can do starting today. Just take one challenge that's going to force you to leave your comfort zone. Like join a club, talk to some strangers, maybe go do some public speaking, create a video, anything that just gets you out of your comfort zone. Also, remember to at least turn all of your notifications off for 2 hours daily. This is one thing for me personally I've also had a problem with is my screen time. So make sure that you can block all of your apps off of your phone so you can focus on this. And remember to journal and to take long walks with podcasts as well. And also remember to audit your relationships. See which ones actually benefit you, which relationships are serving you, and which relationships are holding you back. And question your routine. See what you're doing, which is actually getting you towards your goals, and what is actually holding you back. Just audit your life and ask yourself, is what I'm doing right now going to get me closer to my goals, or is it going to move me away to my goals? So the best part is I came back home with all of these insights from leaving my country. I had kept the confidence, the problem-solving mindset, and even the clarity on what matters. So if you're feeling stuck, maybe you don't need to change your entire life. Maybe you just need to step outside of it long enough to see what you're actually capable of. So drop a comment below. What's one challenge that you're going to take on this week? So subscribe to the channel for more content on fitness, personal development, and how to grow outside your comfort zone. I'll see you guys on the next video.